Now this is actually the front of my project. It really wouldn't be the front, but you can see this I'm pretending is the back at this point. So I've sewn the binding on the front. I'm going to turn this over, and what we'll be doing is looking again at the slanted side, that groove side, and catching the binding into that groove. So I'm going to flip this project over. You want to give a little bit of a finger press here just to make sure that this seam is open a bit. And at that point, I'm going to fold the binding over, and I'm going to be taking my zip bind tool, squeezing with the black handles because we're putting it on, and I'm going to grab my fabric. And now what I want to do is, with my left and right hands, the pointer fingers and thumbs, pull back and pull forward. Back and forward. Now when you have the tool set correctly, that means the width is adjusted correctly on the front and back of this tool, the binding is going to sit tightly in the groove. Now I have 3 clues that I mentioned earlier. Clue 1, the binding should sit tightly in the groove, but not so tight there's a pucker. So what I mean by that is the binding is sitting tightly in this groove. It's not nice and loose like this, but it is actually in that groove. And there's not a pucker in here. If I'd made this tool too big, you can see the binding isn't sitting in that groove. If I had the tool too small, let me just adjust this so you can see. First of all, it's going to be too hard for me to pull back, but now you can see there's a pucker in that groove. So let me again adjust this. And what I'm doing is going back and forth to my belly. You'll see a video on that in a bit. When I place this on and I pull back and pull forward, the binding is sitting tightly in the groove. That's clue 1, but not so tight there's a pucker. Now this is the back of my project. Let's flip this over and take a look at clue 2. This is the front of my project. I'm moving these mitered corners, so I'm turning those so we can see them. Clue 2 is the lock line should not show. Now you can't see what the lock line looks like because I've got the tool adjusted correctly for the width of the binding, but let me show you the lock line. This line right here, that actually comes from that indentation on that side. This is the flat side of my project. That lock line should be right in the ditch, locked in the ditch. That's why it's called the lock line. When I place this back in place and I slide this along, you can see the lock line is locked into the ditch, and we don't see that. If I adjusted the tool too big, the lock line shows up on the quilt. If I adjust the lock line too small, there's a pucker. So we want to make sure that we have this tool adjusted correctly for the width of the binding. Now I've got it adjusted too small. I would never adjust the tool like this and tighten that up. I always take this back to my belly, and again, using the video that we'll have showing my belly, you're going to see how I adjust that. What that allows me to do is adjust this so that this side is even with this other side, and they're nice and straight.